You ask me, them there renters, wasting their money. Renting is such a waste. Why would anybody throw their money away? So renting is for poor people. Rich people buy houses. Look, I don't care what you say. It's stupid to rent and it's smart to buy. So none of these statements are true in and of themselves. But when does it make sense to rent and when does it make sense to buy? Let's get into the numbers. There are a lot of benefits with renting that are often overlooked. Some big examples are: number one, renting gives flexibility that buying does not offer. Number two, theoretically, if something breaks, then the landlord has to fix it, meaning we won't have to come out of pocket for a new stove or a new air conditioner if the need is there. I only say theoretically because unfortunately there's some bad acting landlords out there where when something does break, something that they're required by law to fix, they just don't really get around to doing it. And how we can deal with that is a whole nother video. But the fact remains, if something breaks and you're renting, typically it's not something that you're going to have to pay for. Number three, renting is generally cheaper than buying, meaning I can have more money in my budget every month to focus on any financial goals I might have. Number four, renting can offer access to amenities such as pools or gyms that just might not be affordable to a homeowner having to pay for those amenities separately. And number five, in general, utility and insurance costs are lower. There are a lot of benefits to renting that just don't come with home ownership. So does that mean that renting is the absolute best hands down decision for every single person every single time? Absolutely not. But in the following cases, if you find yourselves in these situations, then it's going to be better to rent most of the time. Reason number one is if we are planning on moving at any time within the next 5 years. So buying a home is so expensive. I mean, there are realtor fees, there are mortgage costs and underwriting costs, there are lawyer fees, not to mention whenever you actually buy the house, there's the cost of upkeep, like mowing the lawn and doing the dishes. Oh wait, the dishes don't really cost money to do, but you get my point. And then on the back end, whenever we sell the home, there are costs to do that as well. And all of these costs add up. A home will likely increase in value enough to offset those expenses, but increasing at only 4% per year on average, we generally won't even see a break-even point over those costs until as early as 3 years in a home or as late as 5 years, depending on the housing market where we live. Reason number two why we should rent is if we are focusing on financial goals, such as paying down debt, or saving up for a down payment, or some other major purchase. The reality is, over the short term, renting is just cheaper than buying. And if we're really working towards some financial goal, then maybe the lower cost of renting will help us achieve that higher goal of financial success, whatever it might be. Reason number three is if we are wanting to experience a specific type of living for a short time before settling down to a lower cost of living. So maybe, for example, we want to see what it's like to live in the big city. We want to move to the Big Apple. Or maybe we want to live in Paris for a year. Or move to London for 6 months. Or wherever, name your experience, right? As long as we're doing that short term, then it's going to be much cheaper to rent in that situation if we are chasing a life experience than it is going to be to buy. So I give this from the perspective of understanding that life experience is not necessarily something you can put a dollar figure on. But if we're going after a life experience that will require us to rent somewhere that's really expensive, then we have to remember our financial goals. And although our financial goals are going to be different, the shorter that we stay with a high cost of living life experience, then the more successful we will be financially over the long run. And reason number four why renting is better is if we are planning on investing as much as possible into a business or for financial independence. And we can use the difference in the cost of renting versus the cost of buying to our benefit. So this one is highly circumstantial, and I don't recommend it for a majority of people, but if the lower cost of renting can allow us to invest the extra money that we have through our cash flow into a business or into stocks or whatever it is that we're pursuing, and we're working extremely hard to be successful and pursue this financial goal, then renting in the short term, again, in this case, may actually work. So if there are all these benefits to renting, then when does it actually make sense to buy? The number one reason we should look at buying over renting is if we're planning on staying somewhere for a longer period of time. Because the equity that we're going to gain and slowly build in that home becomes way more valuable than the short-term benefits that we get from renting again over time. So while renting is less costly now, in 5 years that will not likely be the case if we purchased a home instead 5 years earlier. Because in this scenario, while rent costs slowly increase year after year, our mortgage payment will remain the same. Reason number 2 is because home ownership and paying a mortgage is a form of forced savings. And if we're the type of person that says, oh yeah, I'll invest the difference between the lower cost of renting and the higher cost of home ownership, but we never really get around to it, then having that home mortgage payment is a form of forced savings, allowing us to slowly build up savings over time. The fact is, homeowners have 40 times the net worth of renters, and that gap is only growing. So eventually, looking to buy a home over renting should be a long-term goal for most people. So look, renting is not a bad thing. It can help us get our financial house in order. It can help us save up for that down payment or whatever financial goal we are pursuing. It also allows us to be extremely flexible in situations where we need that flexibility. But if we're going to be successful over the long term, then we should look at staying somewhere for a longer period of time and looking at the option of purchasing a home because of the financial benefits that it offers. But only we can determine what our financial future will look like. And the one thing that I've learned over time is people will decide to do things whenever they're ready. And so if you're not ready right now to buy that house or to pursue that home mortgage, whatever it may be, that's okay. Renting is not a horrible option. Let's just use that time to improve our financial situation. And hopefully you can do that by watching these videos. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure that you do so. If you don't mind, give us a like, share with anybody who's thinking about renting versus home ownership and which might be better for their situation. And if you're curious of the impacts of making little financial changes and how large of an impact that can have on our financial health, then check out this video. It's proof that the little changes done over time can add up to make a big difference.